Hey, it's Elizabeth here, and welcome back to flip number 27. This is my fourth Fobonichi book this year. I will have 6 at the end of the year. I use altered composition books. I glue 3 pages together to avoid bleed through. And when I first started on this journey of Fobonichiing, I found the group Fobonichi Journalers on Facebook I guess it was in January, and so that's when I started. And I am most consistent with inconsistencies. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be consistent with it. And as a result, I ended up using what I had at the very beginning. And as it turns out, I really enjoy using altered composition books. They are inexpensive. I glue 3 pages together to prevent bleed through, which is an arduous task, but I'm willing to do it. I do not get the Fobonichi book because, let's face it, there is no such thing. You use whatever you have. You use composition books. Some people use Miguel Ruiz books from Barnes & Noble. Some people use Moleskines. There are various types of books out there that you can use. So I prefer just to use what I have, and that is composition books. And this cover was inspired by the lovely Cat Hand right here on YouTube, and I'll link her channel below as far as how she did a tutorial on making pretty painted labels and then using them to cover a composition book. So we'll get started. So in here, yes, I realize that it is fall. However, I live in South Florida, and we don't have seasons. We have a wet season, which is our summer, and we have a dry season, which is our winter. So that's pretty much the only 2 seasons we have. We don't have leaves changing colors. We have palm trees. The fronds don't change colors. So it's pretty much boating season all year round. And then over here, at the beginning of every month, I always put a little pocket here to hold all the little bits and scraps and things that I might need to do my Fobonichi. And so here we go, September 1st. I also decided up here in the header, I usually put up there like either Bible verses or I put positive quotes. And so this month I decided to do I am statements. I had been in a funk, and I'm slowly getting out of it, which is great. And I just wanted that positivity on each page. And so let's get started. So this right here, Bean Boozled, I'm not going to get too much into this because you can go on my daughter's YouTube channel if you want. I'll link her channel below to see it. She wanted to do a Bean Boozled challenge, which what it is, I'll show you the box. It looks like this, okay? And on the back, it's like a game, which it's a very sick game if you ask me. But anyway, they have this little spinny thing here. And so you spin it, and whatever color the arrow lands on, that's the jelly bean that you pick to eat. Now, the jelly beans, there are two flavors for each color, okay? Now, you could have a really disgusting flavor, or you could have a yummy flavor. In this case, if you picked this one, it could be Stinky Socks or it could be Tutti Frutti. They had just really disgusting things, really yummy things too, but each jelly bean has a gross one and a yummy one. Okay, so this one was rotten egg and buttered popcorn. This one was barf, like as in vomit, and peach. This one was booger or juicy pear. This one was baby wipes or coconut. This one up here was lawn clippings or lime. This one was toothpaste or berry blue, which is blueberry basically. This one was canned dog food or chocolate pudding, moldy cheese or caramel corn, skunk spray, or licorice. So we did this a few weeks ago, And I'll tell you what, I did not get all of the yummy flavors. I'll just leave it at that. So if you want to go on my daughter's website or her YouTube channel, I'll link it below. You can see me in all my glory. Yes, me, which I normally don't do videos that show me personally, but she coaxed me into it. And yeah, you see me in all my glory with my hair in a kerchief and no makeup on and looking totally ratchet. So whatever, if that's what you're into, go to her channel and watch it. But I'll have to tell you that we just had so much fun doing it. We just laughed and giggled and screamed, and it was so much fun. So yeah, that's that. On this day, it was a Tuesday, so it was Tangle It Tuesday, and Creatively Amy did a lovely tree tangle, and so I did that, and I did some dangles, saying faith, hope, and love, and I put the greatest of these is love. That's from 1 Corinthians. And then this here, I'm late for a very important date. Yeah, my gems woke late this morning, and I don't set my alarm, so I get up whenever I get up. And so I got up that morning at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're supposed to be leaving to go to school at 8 in the morning. They have classes at 8:25. Thankfully, they got there safely and on time. Yeah, they're in that stage right now where they want to be treated like adults, yet, yeah, need to learn how to set their alarms to get up. So anyway. And then, as I said before, I was going through a funk, so yeah, I need to keep calm and change something, and there are some things that I need to change in my life, positive changes, although they will probably be difficult changes, but they need to be made, so I'm going to work on that. And then down here was the community over competition, which is exactly what the Fobonichi Journalers group is to me, and that was the journal at prompt or not journal at prompt, I'm sorry. It was the letter at prompt for September. So yeah, the Fobonichi group is just a wonderful community of beautiful people, all walks of life, all different beliefs, all different types of artwork, all levels of artwork, but everyone just loves on each other. And so it's a really great group, and I'm so thankful that I had found it. And then this here was, let me see. This was the letter at September prompt. I loved you at your darkest, and so I was feeling thankful because the Lord did love me at my darkest. So I'm thankful for that. This little tip in here talks about my daughter, and I was so proud of her. She had started her first job in an after-school care program, and she is just loving the bits out of it. So I'm so thankful for that. And we had the exterminator coming for the second time because we have an ant invasion. And then also on Mondays and Wednesdays, I teach my son at home because I homeschool him, and he's a senior in high school this year. So I'm teaching him biology this year, and then he gets his other schooling subjects from other means, whether it's virtual school or college classes that he attends or whatever. But it's just a busy, busy day for the two of us. And then we had Sweet Lynn. She did her Whimsical Wednesday, and it was favorite childhood outdoor activity. And I grew up in a neighborhood. I'd said before, I was born and raised in the same house until I was married. And we lived in a wonderful neighborhood. We knew, everybody in the neighborhood. The elementary school was right down the street, and it was just such a wonderful place to grow up. And so at our park, right across the street from our house, there were these like Swiss cheese cement things. So we would just go over there and play for hours. And they also had these huge ficus trees that we'd go up and make nests in and just sit there all day long. I mean, it was just a lovely memory. So I'm glad that was the topic for Whimsical Wednesday because it brought back such sweet memories of my childhood. And then this day here, sorry, was Linda's list it prompt, and it was about sensory experiences, about the smells or the scents that you smell that remind you of different things. And so it was interesting on the site, on the Fobonichi Journaler site, that some people listed, positive, pleasant sense, and some people listed not so positive and pleasant sense. So that was kind of funny to see everybody's interpretation. And that's one of the things I love about this Fobonichi is that even though we have prompts and you don't have to use them if you don't want to, you could do whatever you want to do because a Fobonichi is basically an illustrated journal. That's what it is. So you illustrate your day or you illustrate what's going on or whatever, whatever you want. But if you want to do the prompts, you can. And a lot of times I like doing the prompts because they just take me back in time. They cause me to reminisce about pleasant times or sometimes not so pleasant times. But anyway, so yeah, my favorite scents were opium because it was a perfume that my mother wore that my father had given her on Christmas one year. At Christmas one year, and so it always reminds me of Christmas and my mother. And I actually have a bottle of it sitting on my dresser. I never use it, but I love to smell it because it reminds me of her. And crayons, of course, like hello, who doesn't like the smell of crayons? So yeah, I love the smell of crayons because it reminds me of the first day of school. It reminds me of going into the art room and just smelling all the paint and paper and crayons and all of that. And of course, whether it was, my first day of school or whether it was my first day as a teacher, that smell of crayons reminds me of that. So that was pleasant. And then Right Guard, this is deodorant. And I know it sounds weird, but it reminds me of my dad because that's the deodorant he used forever. He used Right Guard in the aerosol spray. And so every time he got out of the shower and, got all cleaned up and shaved and all that kind of stuff, he'd walk down the hallway and his deodorant would just waft into my room. And I loved the smell of it. So every time I smell Right Guard, I just see my dad. It just reminds me of him. And then Honor Each Moment, that was the Letter at September prompt. And my son was going in for a job at the same place that my daughter works, and at the after school care program. And sadly, he didn't get the job. I think it was because he wasn't 18 yet. He'll be 18 in February. And they needed an older person for the grade level, I guess, that they we're needing the position for. So we'll see. Hopefully he'll get some subbing jobs or something like that. And then I was proud of me today because I drove all over town with little to no anxiety, which is such a feat for me. So yeah, I had to drive my son to his interview. I waited for him at his interview and then had to drive him over to his youth pastor's house for Bible study, and then drove all the way home by myself, which is a rarity. So yeah, I did it, so yay me. And then this day here was 5 on Friday, and I can't remember all the things, but I remember we had to use tags, we had to use lettering, we had to use something from a children's book. So this is a poem from Shel Silverstein's book, Where the Sidewalk Ends, and I love his poetry, I always have. And I have several books of Where the Sidewalk Ends. So I don't just cut up any old book. I've got several copies. And then this here is a tag that my sweet daughter made me with Philippians 4:6 on it. And so I used that in there. And then another tag that I used up there. And yeah, so that was that. And when everything else seems lost, God is always there. So I use my lettering here. These are rub-ons, and I use that for the lettering and also for the September Letter It prompt. So I like the way that page turned out. It's not my normal thing, but I had fun doing it. And then this here, we must have stayed home this weekend. And we didn't go down to the Keys. It was a lazy day, and we had an HGTV marathon, which can only mean one thing. It was a couch day. So Big Handsome was not feeling well, so we were just lounging around watching TV together. And during that time as well, while we were watching this, I washied my book. So see, I put washi here on each of the pages, and I don't obviously orange and purple. I mean, like I don't, match these up or anything like that. I washi tape it beforehand, and I don't really care if it matches or not. And then surrender your fear. That was the letter it prompt that day. And then down here, I was in contemplation because iPhones or smartphones or whatever you call them, none of us have them except my husband. My husband has one. He has an iPhone, but that's for work. It's a work phone. And the rest of us have, well, my daughter and I have those like flip phones, but we don't even have texting on them. So, yeah, my kids are getting older, obviously, and they're on their own a lot more. They're driving to school by themselves now, things like that. So, yeah, their safety and my peace of mind is paramount. So, we're going to be, Big Handsome and I are going to be discussing getting some kind of smartphones or something so that I can make sure to be in contact with them if anything were to occur, God forbid. Or if they just want to call me and tell me that they love me. So, yeah, like that'll happen. No, just kidding. My kids do call me and tell me that they love me. And then this day here was, let me see. Yeah, we had stayed home this weekend, like I said, and my son and my husband had been looking online for cars for my son. He does not have a driver's license yet. We did the same thing with my daughter. We ended up getting her a vehicle before she even had her driver's license. But I don't even think she got her driver's license until she was like 18. So, yeah, like neither one of my kids are in a super rush to get their driver's license. My son's going to be 18 in February and still hasn't gotten it. So, anyway. But we did, that weekend, we went and got him a car, which was a 1989 Thunderbird Super Coupe, and it goes very fast, and yeah, it's like I guess it was like a muscle car back then. I don't really even know. But it was really cool because, like, the guy who owned it, it was a single owner. It didn't even have like 65,000 miles on it. It was crazy. It had it for almost 30 years and had very little mileage on it. There are some more fun stories about this car later on in my book. But yeah, he was happy. I had one happy sunshine, and so that's what we did for that day. And Bloom Where You Were Planted, this was the letter September for that day. And these whimsical flowers here, which I love, they came from a calendar that I had purchased at the Dollar Tree a while back. So yeah, so that was that page. And then, you know what? I'm going to stop here at the pity party. I'm going to leave y'all hanging. Obviously, that day I was having a pity party. So, we'll get into that later. So, thanks for watching, and thanks for subbing, and like it. Give it a thumbs up if you like what you see. And again, yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next flip.